I think that I think it's possible, but I'm sorry, but I'm just not super quick to assume that the outcome of this game automatically means that they're heads above tennis, or not heads above. Sorry, that's not. I know that's not what we said. That's not what we said. I know that's not what we said. I misspoke. I sometimes performances like this are really good teams playing down to an opponent, and that opponent knows to take advantage of them.
Tennessee's a good team. There, I said it. Because again, I don't think Tennessee might not be a good team because of the sense, Joe, who have they played? Okay, and how have they looked in teams that played them? I talked about earlier, a quarterback with a pulse throwing the football. Joe, Jackson Arnold got benched. He got benched in the middle of the game, and they had to bring in Hawkins. Like, who has remotely tested them?
I see. Okay, but I feel like the outcome of the thoughts on this game, and I think that this one is, I mean, frankly, it's a lot more toxic of a conversation than the Bama one, because this is the battle that we're having is Arkansas better than we thought that they were, and is Tennessee worse than we thought that they were? I think that Arkansas is scrappy. I think that Arkansas is good enough to knock off and upset somebody else because the way that they play, and if Taylor Green is more consistent, then yes, they can go on this trajectory that you're projecting here. They're not given a situation where they have to play Georgia the rest of the year. They don't have to go up against Alabama. I don't believe they're not on their schedule. So they're afforded winnable SEC games. They still get to play Mississippi State and all that. Tennessee is also recoverable, though. Like, we need to admit here that Tennessee's situation, they played poorly yesterday. They played down to an opponent. They did not connect on any deep shots.
Did they play down to an opponent against Oklahoma who didn't have a pulse on offense? I mean, Joe,
they were kicking the crap out of Oklahoma until they brought in a backup quarterback that they were not prepared for, and Oklahoma scrapped their way back into the game because of that.
They weren't kicking the crap out of them because here's the thing. You had a team that barely could get past the 50-yard line, and you could barely get above 25 points. Here's the truth that you know. Nico is not playing up to the standard that he needs to play up to, or what everybody thought that he'd play up to, and you know that. And until he does, Joe, they have an issue at moments and times moving the football.
Wait, hold on. I don't want to jump to the conclusion that Nico is the reason for their offensive issues. Like, I don't think that that's the case. I think that the play calling was...
He went 1 of 9 on third down throwing the football. What are you talking about?
I think that a lot more of it was with the play calling and the passing decisions that were made by Heupel, and then the late game decision making that did not set him up for success.
Now do Oklahoma. The 3 Power 4 teams that he's played, Joe, he's below 60% completion percentage, and he has not looked good enough.
He's a redshirt freshman. He's a redshirt freshman. So first of all, we need to act like that he's...
I'm not saying pull him, but you got to come to a correlation of that when a player is playing bad, especially a quarterback, it affects the team. We know what he did against NC. Hold on, please let me finish. Again, you know what he did against NC State with 2 interceptions. You know how he looked and struggled with 2 turnovers against Oklahoma. And then, Joe, now you're turning into the 3rd Power 4 team that he's played. Again, I think he's going to be special, but you got to look at him at the right now. Is he going to be special? Yes. We all pretty much know that. But what we do know at the current moment, what life has given us in 3 Power 4 games, he has not been up to par. And you know that.
The problem and the reason why I don't like having this type of conversation is because, and Connor Weigman, who we're going to talk about in a little bit, is the perfect example of this. It's the perfect example of this. Guys have the ability, especially young football players who haven't played that much, have the ability to take huge steps forward. Taylor Green is the perfect example of this. He was the first 4 games of the season was in an offense that he was not used to, and he was making a bunch of silly mistakes, errant passes, bad throws, and he played lights out against a great Tennessee secondary. He outplayed that great secondary that has a ton of talent within it and a great defensive line.
He can progress.
I'm not saying that you don't believe that he can't progress, but when you have a young quarterback like this, the issue is with Heupel. Heupel needs to know how to set him up better to succeed. Early on in the season, he was setting him up better. It feels like that has not been the case, and was not the case against Arkansas, was not the case in the second half against Oklahoma.
Like, you mean setting him up like when Squirrel White was wide open and he missed him for a touchdown? You mean like that one?
BetOnline remains your top spot for all of your live betting action and contests. NFL, college football, UFC, NHL are all in full swing. BetOnline is your number one source for wagering news, odds, trends, and predictions with both desktop and mobile access at any time. Head to BetOnline today and use promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for 50% off your first deposit. That is a 50% welcome bonus. Bet online, where the game starts.
I mean, Joe,
I'm not going to act like that wasn't a bad throw. Yes, that was a bad throw.
but it didn't happen just once. And again, you have the statistic that's out there that he's 1 for 9 passing on third down. Also, look at the end of the game. That's a decision by him. Joe,
no. Hold on. The late game clock management, him rolling out and yes, running out of bounds was a huge lack of experience mistake. But the clock management that Heupel set him up with completely screwed him.
Well, I'm not going to blame that all on Heupel because Heupel was screaming his ass off about snapping the football, and they weren't doing it, and he had
he
to
should have called a timeout.
He did call a timeout.
But he did it with like 17 seconds left, didn't he? He did it with no time left on the clock. Again, he is a redshirt freshman quarterback.
Yes.
I don't understand why.
And I'm not coming down on him.
I know you're not. I know you're not.
But as a team, until he progresses and show that he can be better in crucial situations, it affects the team.
Okay, but all I'm trying to state here in my whole argument is I don't disagree. I think that he does need to improve. He does need to be more precise in those situations. But at the end of the day, and this is a problem where young quarterbacks get doomed all the time. It's happening with Anthony Richardson that I yell about. It happened with Bryce Young in the NFL. It happened with Kyle McCord last year with Ohio State. The list could go on and on with young quarterbacks.
All of those teams have in common?
They all expect too much. They all expect too much out of young quarterbacks when they need to be set up to better succeed.
Like what?
Blake.
Like, I'm just asking, how do you want him to be set up to succeed?
The decision-making, the play calling on third down, I don't remember the exact plays that they had on those third down situations, but if you're 1 for 9, you can't keep coming back to the same stuff. Something is clearly not working. And they ran the ball well.
The only thing I'd get on Heupel about, which I agree with you, why did you get away from DeLeone Sampson?
So if I'm remembering this correctly, they had the lead, and when they punted, and this was part of the reason what I'm coming back to. DeLeone Sampson was playing really well. He was over 139 yards. And there was one instance where they threw the ball on that drive when they really shouldn't. They should have ran the ball every single play until they were forced to punt.
I agree with that. I agree.
That plays into what I'm talking about here. Is like, why are you
thinking way too much? I think the system is too
complicated. Simplify it.
It's way too complicated for him. All right. Okay. You want to move on to A&M and Mizzou?